Welcome into Colts Talk presented by Prize Picks. We appreciate Prize Picks. Be sure to use code HMA to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Thought it'd be interesting on today's show to go over 10 free agent targets that are still available for the Indianapolis Colts to sign, add to the roster, make a Colt to help this team on offense or defense heading into 2026. We do a lot of videos on a lot of different things, and you guys still like to comment about guys we should sign, so I thought that would be fun. Plus, if you want to make it happen, literally, if you hit the like button, the Colts will add a free agent. That's the deal. If you want the Colts to add a free agent to the roster, you have somebody in mind, hit that like button, and I think it's going to happen for you. Going through, I would call it a top 10. Really, it's just 10 names, right? If we really did rankings, there'd be other positions. But this is specifically for the Colts. Stefon Diggs is still a free agent. That's right. Even after a 1,000-yard season for the New England Patriots a year ago, Stefon Diggs really rewrote his career a little bit. Looked like he was really tailing off and yet becomes a weapon on a Super Bowl contender, once again making him a top-tier free agent. Spotrac has him looking for a 2-year, $14 million-ish a year in this scenario. I also want to note, yes, there was the legal trouble. He was cleared, not guilty of assault. That's almost about a month ago now at this point in time. So, yeah, Stefon Diggs, still free agent, 1,000-yard season coming off of it with New England. Big thing for me, you may just need a little bit of time here, whether it's Diggs with the Colts, Diggs with any other team, Diggs in general, right? Why is he not signed? Surprising he's not signed. You may just need a little more time here. Odell recently signed, right? And it just goes to show you all his issues over the past few years, put aside, put away. Again, different levels, different things, but just a good example there. Time can heal all wounds and rewrite the image a little bit. I think Diggs may just need a little bit farther away from the assault charges there, which leads me to believe training camp could be a more realistic signing opportunity for Indy, for any other team. Again, theme of today's video, we'll talk a lot about teams want to see players. They want to see what they have on their team, mini camps, OTAs, even into training camps. Then you jump at, okay, we need a Stefon Diggs on this team who has plenty of juice left. By the way, like I said, 1,000-yard season for the Patriots a year ago. I thought it looked like it was about done. Just too many teams, too many years gone by. He re-cemented himself as both a quality weapon and a 1,000-yard receiver in the NFL. Special case here, but look, the Colts are gonna talk about edge rushers, and Colts fans are going to talk about edge rushers, pass rushers. A.J. Epenesa remains one of the top names on the market. I also should note he remains getting interest from teams around the NFL. If you recall, we reported Epenesa was signed by the Browns, failed him on his physical, released him, and then the most recent news, the Bears worked him out about a week or two ago. No word on that. No signing by the Bears with A.J. Epenesa. So, he's in a scenario where, again, he's being looked at by teams. Teams have interest. There's definitely an interesting case there. Former second-round pick that's been solid enough for Buffalo in his time there. But again, clearly there is something that's making the Browns want it out, and then the Bears didn't want to pull the trigger on Epenesa in general there. So, look, he'll remain on our list because teams are interested in him as, not a top-tier pay-him pass rusher, but a guy that could help. This would be a bring him back for the Indianapolis Colts. We talked about Mike Hilton just a little bit not long ago when we discussed possible free agent targets or guys to add to the team. The Colts brought Hilton in a year ago when Kenny Moore got hurt. They brought him in as a nickel slot option there. Unfortunately, Hilton, not long after, got injured himself. Only played 2 games for the Colts and then was released. Look, still 32 years old. I don't consider that overly old for the cornerback position. You'd like him to be a little bit younger, but I don't think it's overly old for Hilton in that respect. Only thing I will note, not much interest. I have not seen other teams poking around trying to get Mike Hilton. Seen him on a couple still available free agency lists, which is why I wanted to discuss him on today's show. Big thing for me is I think the nickel competition needs a little bit more here. It's Justin Wally, who's coming off an ACL, Cameron Mitchell, who hasn't played a ton of nickel, and 2 undrafted free agents, right? Wouldn't you like a guy like Mike Hilton, who has at least played in that position, played for the Colts in that position, I should add, to maybe help out that competition a little bit there. So Mike Hilton, definitely an option for Indy if they want to bulk up at corner. Today's show is presented by Prize Picks. They're one of the reasons we can do the show for free. We appreciate them as a sponsor. We also appreciate the fact that they are America's #1 sports picks app. They are the best place to win cash while watching sports. When we talk about lineups, ladies and gentlemen, it's so easy to put together these lineups. You just pick more or less on a few player stats and then lock in your lineup. Baseball, go with hits, home runs, strikeouts. Basketball, go with points, rebounds, assists, blocks, three-pointers, right? And then we have an interesting lineup here from producer AP, and you know when he cooked it up and shares it on the show, it's going to be something interesting, something good. We've been talking a lot about how these receivers are kind of the second receiver on their team, but could still have big, big years. Jordan Tyson, we're going more on the receiving touchdowns for the rookie there. More for George Pickens, also on his receiving touchdowns with the Cowboys. And T. Higgins at 7.5. We really like that one to go more. So you see, we picked the players, we picked the stats, we picked more or less on some guys we really like there. We went more on all those. You could do the opposite if you wanted. Plus, with flex play on Prize Picks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, you choose flex play where you can get paid even if your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, you go for the power play. Big thing is, no matter how you play, Prize Picks is a great place to win cash while putting your takes to the test. And by the way, Prize Picks now has early payouts. So if your player or players get off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. And with the new user offer we've got for you, you just download the Prize Picks app today with the link in the comment section and description. Then use code HMA. That's HMA. You'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Will the Colts take a chance on a division rivals? I don't like using the word scraps, but a guy that no longer going to be with the Houston Texans in 2026. That's right. Former Cleveland Browns great. Former solid player after that. Nick Chubb, the running back who was last with Houston. So look, Colts fans, you've gotten a recent look at Nick Chubb. You also have a look here at your running back room. I have stressed this, will continue to stress this. I'm not comfortable with the running back situation after Jonathan Taylor. Just not. We haven't seen a ton of DJ Giddens. And then, the Colts added a couple UDFAs. They drafted Seth McGowan. Is any of the names you see there, do you really feel like that's a running back 2 in the NFL? That if Jonathan Taylor went down, that you would feel okay or even have a chance at running the ball in the NFL? Now, Chubb, that's an interesting case. I definitely sympathize for you if you immediately are like, well, is Nick Chubb the guy? No, that's a good question. I checked in with our Texans host. His thought was, man, he was all right. He was all right. He said solid for a running back too. That's kind of what you want, right? In this situation for Indy, again, at the running back position. Look, worth a look here. I don't know if it needs to be in training camp, private workouts. Don't forget that. The teams can just bring a guy in to work him out, right? See a private workout. He's worth a look in some sort of capacity. I don't care if it's just watch some film or have some interest in Nick Chubb. I think for Indianapolis, this is worth a look. And again, I joked that our guy Jeremy at the Houston Texans channel said he was kind of meh, okay for a running. Is meh better than DJ Giddens? That's a valid question, right? Because we haven't seen a ton of DJ Giddens, and hey, maybe it's his chance to try and get after it as running back too. I think minicamp could really tell us something. You're getting these guys cutting speed, knowing the offense, really get a size look at some of these guys, how they looked in the offseason. There's a chance the Colts come out of minicamp saying, okay, we need to add another running back. Here's a name that was, when I'm putting together available targets, it just pops. Right, this is an 8-time Pro Bowler. This is a very, very big deal in Cameron Jordan, who's locked in a very interesting situation, by the way. Look, I don't think this is the most realistic option, both for the idea of signing him and for what he can give you. I think those things are in different spots in general, but 8-time Pro Bowler, right? You have to have him on this list. Colts need an edge rusher, an 8-time Pro Bowler's on the market. Got to take a look. And Cam Jordan still held up over the past few years for the Saints, right? This is not a situation where he's just looked really, really bad, for New Orleans. It's just, a change of the times, a change of scenery situation, and then it's been a little bit of back and forth for the Saints as far as bringing Jordan back or not bringing Jordan back, because it's been like a weird, flirtiness between the two. That's kind of the deal. And what we do understand as of right now, checking in with our Saints channel as well, there is a deal on the table for Cameron Jordan. So when he's ready, if he wants to go back to New Orleans, he can end the flirting and go back there. Or the Colts, who have a lot of money to spend if they want, can actually take advantage of this, jump in, find out what the offer is possibly, and just outbid the Saints, right? End all this. End this, Jordan was unhappy, then he wants to go back, then the Saints want him back, but it's not enough. Why not end it with a gigantic offer that's more than what the Saints are willing to give and bring Jordan in? Name a free agent you want the Indianapolis Colts to sign. I need a name. Who is it going to be for you? Give me a name down in the comment section below. This will be our pinned comment. Back to talking wide receiver a little bit for the Indianapolis Colts. Wide receiver 2 might be one of the hottest topics from the day that Michael Pittman Jr. was traded, right? Day after day after day, we have talked about replacements, options, competitions over and over and over again. DeAndre Hopkins is a name to look at here. I will note, of like the I recognize that name guys on the list here, dude is extremely cheap. Like, I don't think it's going to cost much at all to bring in DeAndre Hopkins, who in Baltimore, okay. I think you can definitely see with DeAndre Hopkins, number one, I will note Lamar Jackson, not exactly like a passing quarterback, so I think that should be noted in general for his numbers. However, you look at his numbers over the past few years, you can see regression, right? You can see, like, was a 1,000-yard receiver starting to become a role player on his last leg of his career in general. So that's kind of where Hopkins is. The question, other question would be, like, what is the fit with the Colts, right? And I will say Hopkins has been very vocal. I just think he's been trying to make it happen. I don't really fault him for it. He really wants to play in Cincinnati. Keeps talking Burrow and playing with Burrow and all that stuff over and over. But Cincinnati not showing the love back. It's not mutual flirting here. Again, the word of the day is flirting. Hopkins flirting with Cincy not flirting back at this point in time. We'll note he did tell Kay Adams that he would play slot if needed, or he would play outside if needed. So that could help the Colts if A, they get an injury, or B, they want to say, like, okay, you're primarily going to play wide receiver 2, or if they don't feel comfortable with the Downs backup, and they just say, let's get him in here and let him back up Josh Downs. Overall, though, I love the attitude. Guy wants to stay in the league. He's trying to make his career happen, right? He's at least speaking the Cincinnati thing into existence. So I'm interested in DeAndre Hopkins. I think he could be very, very, good for the Colts offense if they want to add another receiver. Okay, a name that has kind of escaped the NFL world just a little bit. I didn't see interest when free agency began, and I still don't see that much interest as of right now for Haason Reddick, who was top-tier pass rusher not long ago. If you remember, he was the guy that bounced Brock Purdy out of the NFC Championship, right? Hit him and messed up the elbow, and on it went from there. And also not overly expensive, but when we began free agency, he was on our top 5 edge rushers list, right? You look back, and Philly was a really great moment for him. That was like peak of his career. He's winning. He's playing well. And then, what happened to him at the wrong time was he wanted more money while his career kind of began to fade away a little bit, right? And that's killer. And, look, say what you want. Maybe you want him. For me, it's stuck in my head that the dude wanted out of Philly so bad that he got traded to the Jets and has been downhill from there. It just stuck in my head at this point in time. Haason Reddick, I'll pass. I'll pass personally on that one, but you can feel free to leave your opinion on Haason Reddick. Let's continue with the edge rushers, huh? Why not? Jadeveon Clowney. Yes, and if you are one of the people that said, Clowney, is he still in the league? Yeah, he is still in the league, and he is still playing at a high level. He was good for the Cowboys a year ago. Again, price range-wise, you see these guys, and the Colts like $30 million. Just bring one of these dudes in, right? At least bulk up the room a little bit. No reason you can't do that. And look, it just keeps happening for Clowney where either these teams get to training camp or they get to a certain point in the offseason. And like I said, they just look around and think, we need a little more. We need a real vet. We need a real guy on our defense. That's what Dallas did last year, and he played really well for Dallas, played good for Carolina, and that was fading away a little bit from his former, like, elite pass rusher form. Now he's just a good pass rusher that you could add to your defense. And again, like Diggs, and again, there's no issue here with Clowney. Like Diggs, though, you may just need to get a little farther down the road for Clowney to see more interest both from the Colts or other teams in the NFL. A name that is not unfamiliar if you watch Colts talk, Deebo Samuel Sr. Yes, Deebo Samuel Sr. Very excited to talk more Deebo, right? At this point in time, possible 2-year, $32 million contract is what Spotrac is predicting here. Like Clowney, I made the mistake of thinking like, Deebo, yeah, I guess, still hasn't really been good lately, right? No, still a good receiver in the NFL. The Colts need a good wide receiver too. Had some good juice for the Commanders last season. I think I got lost in the memes, right, where he had gained the weight and people were just really getting after him a little bit there. But no, he's not San Francisco numbers of a few years ago, but definitely not a major fall off for a guy that could really bring some juice to your offense. And sometimes it is all about get a guy, get him the ball, and watch him work. And I think that's who Deebo Samuel could be for the Colts offense. Where do you land on it? Should the Colts sign Deebo Samuel? Look, we've talked a lot about other players getting involved here. Maybe you want to stick with who the Colts have, or do you want to bring in Deebo? Type S for sign him, P for pass, and work with what you got. Let us know down below. Like I said, Ashton Doolin, Deion Burks, Nikhil Westbrook-Ikine, Nick Westbrook-Ikine, excuse me. Those names all competing, right? We've talked a ton about him as the wide receiver 2 spots. Ashton Doolin playing pretty well lately. Those guys have showed off, and yet Deebo, right, at wide receiver 2 just sounds right, feels right. And look, if you feel yourself as a competitive team in the NFL, a team that wants to win your division, Deebo's a more serious wide receiver 2 than Ashton Doolin. It's just one of those things. Kind of have to look at it and make a move in general. The number one has not changed for me in 2 months, probably. Joey Bosa should be a Colt. I'd really, really like to see Bosa on the Colts in general. Look, you need that little extra help at edge rusher. We were promised a big-time edge rusher, not necessarily by Ballard, but we felt that was going to be a move for the Colts in general. Bosa putting together a good, healthy season last year, for Buffalo, kind of putting some narratives to bed about his health and playing games and whatnot. So I think it would be good for Joey Bosa at this point in time to come to Indy, make it work in Indy. However, I just really don't know how I feel about the odds of landing Joey Bosa. He's been a top-tier free agent for the Colts and other teams. It's also had just super interesting summer. It was like immediately he's going to San Francisco. Then it was like, he's getting married. Then that's toned down. Then, they asked Nick Bosa about him recently. He's like, he's working on his golf game. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that has to do with free agency. But the Colts should be interested here in Joey Bosa. That should be a big deal for them to take a look here. You missed out on Trey Hendrickson. You didn't want to overpay Trey Hendrickson. I get it. Take a second look here in Bosa, who's asking for less money. It can still be a high-level pass rusher for you. However, San Francisco just seems likely. Sorry, his brother's there. They've got the salary cap. Feels like, again, he's just waiting to enjoy his summer and then kind of make a move after that. Thanks for spending the time with us here on Colts Talk today. We wanted to bring you available free agents, remind you who's out there, how they could fit the Colts, and, of course, get your opinion. If you want more content just like this on a daily basis, be sure to subscribe.